Hi everyone, I am Lina El Hussein. I'm a second year PhD student at the University of Oxford. And today I'm going to present to you about a protocol for one of my PhD projects. And it's called Redefining Polypharmacy, a longitudinal study using routinely collected data. Polypharmacy is the use of more than one drug concurrently or cumulatively. Um, Usually, the most common definition of polypharmacy is the use of 5 or more drugs, and sometimes the use of 10 or more drugs is referred to as excessive or hyperpolypharmacy. As the population in the developed world increases, so does the number of drugs taken in that older population. To your right, you can see a plot from a study that was done in the UK in 2010. It shows the percentage of users of N drugs um, with with reference to their age groups, and it's clear that as the age group, like as people age, they have start to have more drugs. Polypharmacy is associated with a number of adverse events. These include drug-to-drug interactions, adverse drug reactions, hospitalization, frailty, and even death. So there are like numerous studies in the literature on polypharmacy. However, for the definition of polypharmacy, the most common one is usually based on a numerous definition rather than looking at classes or inappropriate polypharmacy. Also, longitudinal studies look either at the prevalence at like different time points or the long term of polypharmacy without taking into account the variation of polypharmacy over time or its trajectory. And this leads us to the study objectives. First, it will be to compare alternative definitions of polypharmacy and then to describe the trajectories of polypharmacy. So in the first work package, I will compare alternative definitions of polypharmacy using a cross-sectional data-driven approach. I will describe characteristics of the identified cohorts and then assess the value of these cohorts or identified polypharmacy in identifying people at higher risk of adverse events. Then in the second work package, I will identify different trajectories of polypharmacy over time, assess the association of different trajectories with adverse events, and then compare the use of a simple cross-sectional to trajectory polypharmacy in identifying people at higher risk of adverse events. For both work packages, I'm going to include people who are aged 65 or more on start date, and these people will need to have been registered in their respective database for at least 1 year prior to start. Exposure will be polypharmacy. All records of prescribed ingredients during the study period will be captured. Covariates will include baseline characteristics such as demographics and BMI, and also multimorbidity burden expressed in terms of a Carlson morbidity score. So for the first work package, I'm comparing two definitions of polypharmacy. One is based on the absolute number of all ingredients prescribed, and the second is the number of pharmacological or therapeutic subgroups. Polypharmacy will be captured during the year of 2012, and depending on the distribution of polypharmacy, people belonging to the top quintile will constitute the polypharmacy cohort. Afterwards, starting from the beginning of 2013, I will run a 2-year risk analysis model. Two models, in fact. One is based on death and the other based on unplanned hospital admissions as outcomes. I'm comparing the value of number of ingredients versus the number of classes, and also using pre-specified cutoff versus continuous polypharmacy. Taking the preferred definition from the first work package, that is ingredients or classes, I will start working on the second work package. Polypharmacy, of course, has to be continuous in this case due to the nature of the analysis. So for the longitudinal analysis, I'll be calculating polypharmacy each year for 5 consecutive years, then identify trajectory clusters of polypharmacy over these years. Afterwards, another risk analysis model will be fit, and I would be interested in seeing whether the different clusters have different risk profiles. Uh, some preliminary work to this project was me presenting this in the Odyssey Symposium this year, and I just wanted to check the feasibility of identifying polypharmacy in the elm of CDM. In this study, I did a comparison between the source and mapped instances of CPRD Gold, which is a UK primary care database, and both cohorts that I identified had very comparable baseline characteristics and good validity metrics, which makes it promising for us to carry on with the project presented here. So right now, I'm awaiting approval for my protocol from CDApp and CPRD, and I'm also building the analytical packages. And I am calling for collaborators. So if you have a data with a high proportion of older people and or just you're interested in characterizing polypharmacy in that population, please let me know. And also, I'd just like to acknowledge that this is an EDM funded project, and just give thanks to my supervisors and collaborators at CDApp who sit here. Thank you.